You are listening to a special edition of the IU Report with Grant Schaus and Mike Hutsell. With Grant out calling a high school basketball game, Mike took the duties and reacted to Indiana's 81-60 loss at Michigan State. Mike and Grant will join me on Saturday. Hope to get it out actually Friday evening for our special IU Report, a national championship game preview between the Indiana Hoosiers and the Miami Hurricanes in Miami. Quick note, we recorded this podcast while I was in a car, so please forgive me if it sounds like I'm shouting at you.
Welcome back to the Central Indiana Sports Report, IU fans, for a special edition of the IU Report with Grant Schaus and Mike Hutsell. Grant was calling a game tonight, so was not able to watch the game. So Mike is here to tell us all about it. And Mike, I was watching the scores. Really close game for a while. What happened in the second half?
Just a continuation of what this team isn't good at. If the shots stop falling, which they did, they don't have an interior presence to try to lean into. They turn the ball over carelessly, especially on the road. And then they foul too much. There was a problem in the first half. It carried over. They couldn't defend. They don't have an interior presence at all on defense. So Michigan State was able to get inside, and it was a bad, probably the worst moment of the debris there, if we're being perfectly honest. That was a 53-53 game that looked like they had a chance to be a competitive finish going down to the road. They got a steal and a nice, emphatic dunk by Lamar Wilkerson on a fast break to pull even after they had fallen behind by 9 in the first half. And it just completely torpedoed from there. They stopped playing defense. Michigan State started hitting shots. And it looked honestly, Greg, like a Mike Woodson coach team on the road. One of those games. That's not a compliment from any standpoint whatsoever. We've talked about this team. If they've lost this year, at least they've competed. Tonight, it looked like it was going to be hard to compete, and they just stopped playing. And that's unacceptable, especially for a first-year coach with a very, very, very veteran roster. He brought in a lot of veterans from the portal specifically for that reason, and they just completely imploded tonight.
Do you not take something positive away from being 53-50 at Michigan State through?
That's the frustrating part about it, though, because early on in the game, they moved the ball well. They were doing very, very a good job of rolling to the bat. Their pick and roll game was on point, and they were doing some dives to the rim, some rim runs. Got a couple nice looks for Sam Alexis, even Reed Bailey a couple of times. They were actually getting interior buckets against Michigan State, which is pretty hard to do because they've got a good defensive team inside. And then Lamar Wilkerson was being Lamar Wilkerson. That's the most frustrating thing right now is we're wasting a really, really good player and having a really, really good season in these games. He's the third leading scorer in the Big Ten. He was having another big night tonight, and they got sloppy. They stopped competing, and it ended up getting blown out. And that's, for a first-year coach, you really hope that you're not making any sort of comparison to the guy before him. And that game tonight looked like a Mike Woodson game, and that's just absolutely not fun to watch as an Indiana fan.
You and I and Grant talked about how important these two games were, that you probably had to win one or two against Nebraska or Michigan State to kind of keep your head above water, and it hasn't started very well.
No, and that's why I was so frustrated about Saturday, because if you got a 16-point lead at home against a top 10 team, you've got to finish that, and they didn't, and they looked really, really bad in the process of losing it. And tonight, you're competing on the road against another top 15 caliber team, and then you just kind of, you turn up when things get difficult. when you have a chance to actually, if you win that game, that's your best win not only of the season, that's maybe your best win in 2 seasons. Going back to last year when you won at Michigan State, you're trying to put a tournament resume together. You're trying to show that you belong in that tier of teams from 8 to 14 in the Big Ten. You don't want to be compared to Rutgers and Penn State. You want to be somewhere in that Wisconsin, Iowa discussion this year. And they're not winning any of the games that prove they belong there. So to me, they're a slightly better team than the bottom of the conference. And they have yet to prove to me that they're anything other than that. And tonight's another, just a bad example of how bad this team can be when they stop making shots and they stop playing hard.
Start hearing the word bubble a lot. IU fans got to be sick of that.
I don't even consider Lenardi has them in. They're starting to teeter more towards that 10, 11, last 4 buys, first 4 out. I'm so sick of those words as an Indiana basketball fan. But at the same time, show me why this is an NCAA tournament team. Right now, they don't have anything to me that makes them jump out at me and say, yep, that team deserves it over some of these other schools that are out there. They're just not winning games that they need to win. And some of their losses that we thought weren't going to be bad losses aren't turning out to be great losses. I mean, Louisville lost again tonight. They lost to Virginia at home, and I know they've got some injury issues, but they're a 2-3 team in the ACC right now. Kentucky is not a good team. They just lost their point guard for the season. Who knows what's going to happen there? That might end up not being a tournament team that you lost a game to. And Nebraska is a good loss, as bad as that sounds. I'm sick of good losses being the Indiana standard. This is too proud of a program to making the NCAA tournament this difficult, and it's become just a task. And thank God for Kurt Signetti, man. That's all I can say right now about Indiana athletics.
Be too upset, isn't it, as an IU fan right now?
It's hard to be. Look, I'm an IU fan. I'm an Eagles fan. It's been a frustrating weekend, but you know what? Friday, I'm still riding that high. So whatever happens, happens. Darren DeVries should absolutely send a thank you note every day to the coach's office for football, because there's people that didn't even realize there was a game tonight. I thought tonight's game was Wednesday. I used to be able to rattle off the Indiana schedule off the top of my head. And my friend texted me today about the line, and I said, that game's tomorrow. He said, check your schedule, bud. I mean, that's
not a good place to be.
That's not a good place to be as a fan, man. And I hate saying that. I know I'm on an IU podcast, and I love this program a lot. It's one of the things I'm most passionate about is Indiana athletics. But at some point, you just got to start getting back what you're investing in it. And this program is just they felt too much like a job for a few years now. It's felt like something that I have to do because I'm a fan.
Yeah.
But I'm not getting any sort of enjoyment back out of it. And I'm a guy who goes to 4 or 5, 6 games a year. I've gone to the Big Ten tournament. Why an Indiana fan would voluntarily go to the Big Ten tournament, I don't know. I'm pretty stupid, I guess. But tonight is just another frustrating example of what the rot that has become this program. And they've got to get it back. Saturday, Iowa, their version of James Naismith, Ben McCollum, that everybody just absolutely is fawning over, even though they're not that good of a team. They got ranked, which was laughable. You got to win that game. You got to win that game. You lose that game, it's going to start looking real ugly real quick. And DeVries, I'm not a one-and-done guy. I'm not sitting here saying we got to fire a coach. Not at all. But there's going to be more heat than you possibly can have as a first-year coach if you just don't start winning some of these games against comparable competition and Iowa certainly feels like that.
In that group with the teams that are going to be on the bubble.
Yeah, we talked about it, the 8-game stretch, and they're 0-2 right now. And it doesn't get any easier until you go to Rutgers, and we all know how I feel about playing at Rutgers. So
It's brutal.
It has been. Excuse me, it's Jersey Mike's Arena now, I think, but whatever. It's the wreck.
It's brutal because they're losing to Rutgers is always a bad thing, and sometimes they're really good there.
Oh, they play Indiana, well, the freaking Soviet team that came to Assembly Hall, and Bob Knight walked off the court because of the game. That's how Rutgers plays against Indiana every year.
Mike Hutsell, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you watching for the three of us.
I'd love to say that was fun, but you probably had more fun than me doing whatever you did.
Thanks so much to Mike. We always appreciate what he does, but really appreciating him stepping up tonight and doing the entire job because Grant and I could not. And thank you so much for listening. Please do us a huge favor. Share this podcast with an IU fan in your life. Help us spread the word that the Central Indiana Sports Report is talking about what Central Indiana sports fans are talking about every single day. I mean, I guess there could be an exception here and there, but not yet. Haven't missed a day yet. The Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media, and I love Susie.